Joining us now, former Trump White House Communications Director Elizabeth Griffin, former Trump administration official Matt Mowers, and CNN political commentator Bakari Sellers. Alyssa, first of all, what's your reaction? I mean, it's fascinating her saying that there's all these people, even if they don't inform Blanche, they know what the president wants, and they're all jockeying for these roles.
That's the most fascinating part. Listen, we've seen that there's a history of targeting Trump's adversaries, from James Comey to others, but the fact that there is this political incentive and that there are officials senior level at the Justice Department that may be pursuing investigations for the purposes of getting in the good graces of the president, I think tells you all you need to know about this Department of Justice. That said, based on Paul's reporting, there's a lot we don't know. I'm watching that Newsom statement. It did feel like a politician trying to get ahead of something, trying to get ahead of a story that may come out. So we may learn something that was in fact untoward, that was in fact wrongdoing with the wife. But right now it looks very, very questionable.
Bakari, the acting attorney general, declined to say if the DOJ is investigating. Where do you see this heading?
So first of all, let me just disabuse anybody of the notion that, it's a good thing for the FBI or DOJ to be investigating you. There's no such thing, even if you're running for the president of the United States, of anybody wanting them to go into every single thing that you've done. We refer to it as a problem and a solution that doesn't have a fix. So no, Gavin Newsom, even if he's running for president, doesn't want the DOJ investigating him. This is something that Donald Trump has done for a very long period of time. This is something that Donald Trump has done by attacking his adversaries. And when you look at the other side of the coin, when you look at somebody who's made, let's just take, for example, trades on the stock market where he benefits from them, or his sons actually going into crypto or meme coins or joining boards. This is not something that Gavin Newsom is known for. And I've come on this show and I've lambasted Gavin Newsom before. I think that when Gavin Newsom walks in a room, he will tell you that he's the smartest person and most handsome person in the room. We'll sort that out in a Democratic primary. But do I believe Gavin Newsom is a crook compared to Donald Trump? Definitely not. And this is beyond the pale, particularly when you target someone's wife, as they're doing. This is just something that Donald Trump does. And this is why many Americans are souring towards Donald Trump.
Matt, what's your perspective on this?
Well, look, I agree with Bakari. No one ever wants to be under federal investigation. Certainly not, the spouse of the governor of California. But, look, Governor Newsom's currently using this to raise money for his political apparatus. I received an email at 3:23 p.m. Saying Donald Trump's targeting me, send me $20. I refrained from giving him $20, by the way, but I'm sure many others who are aligned with him are doing so. And so he's seeking to get ahead of it and turn it to a political advantage. But the fact is, there's some reporting out that this may have even started under the Biden administration. So I think there's so much more we need to know before you can draw any conclusions about it related to the Justice Department. But I'll tell you, politically, Gavin Newsom's trying to turn lemons into lemonade right now, using it as a chance to try to play a victim and then try to ingratiate himself to the liberal base around the country in advance of a presidential run.
Matt, do you think this Department of Justice does go after, Paula was talking about district attorneys or others, aggressive prosecutors who know what the president wants and might be investigating folks in order to curry favor? Do you believe that is potentially happening?
Based on what has come out so far, it doesn't seem like that's happening here. And let's not forget, there was a lot of outrage when John Bolton had federal agents at his door one morning. Everyone assumed it was a political payback because he wrote some tough stuff about Donald Trump. And once again, turned out that it was an investigation under mishandling of classified documents that actually started under the Biden Justice Department. He now has entered a plea deal on those charges. So, I think it's still too soon to draw any conclusions on that. And I think as the facts have come out so far, it doesn't seem that way. You've got a former chief of staff who right now is probably talking to some federal agents. And those folks know a lot of information about the first family of California. I'm sure they're happy to give that information off if it's going to actually benefit themselves.
Bakari, we've certainly seen this Department of Justice go after people that the president would like to see targeted.
Certainly. I think it's a sham. And I think that's what there once
whether or not,
was
I'm not saying that's happening in this case, obviously. We don't know. But
No, no. I mean, from the 50,000-foot view, what once was a very standard approach to government, whereby there was some level of just a distinctness between the White House and the Department of Justice, is no more. That went away a long time ago. I remind people, and rightfully so, there will be Republicans on this same panel right now that would say, well, Joe Biden pardoned his son. Well, the fact is, his Justice Department indicted him. And Joe Biden, rightfully or wrongfully, history will dictate that, actually pardoned his son. But the Department of Justice did what they needed to do. I wish we could get back to a department or a situation where we had norms, where we're not there yet. And Donald Trump uses this Department of Justice to exact pain on his enemies. And that's just not what the American dream is about.
Listen, just a surprise, this Axios reporting on Iran from Barack Ravid. He's a great reporter, has great sources, clearly. The fact that this level of detail has leaked out at this stage from this White House about dissension, about concerns from the CIA director about this, and even specific information about what the intelligence says about Iran, according to Ravid, does that surprise you?
It is surprising. These are incredibly high-level talks, and you're seeing the sort of camps form. You've got Hegseth, Rubio, and Ratcliffe reportedly on one side opposing this deal, and then you have others, J.D. Vance, Jared Kushner, in support of it. What I'm seeing emerge from Republicans and many on Capitol Hill is this fear that this deal has way too much good faith in the Iranian regime, that it's basically relying on their word and that they're going to move forward in the steps that they've committed to. And I would just remind folks, this regime literally had a target on President Trump's back. There was a foiled assassination attempt by the Iranians on him. My former boss, Mark Esper, was targeted by the Iranian regime. These are not our friends. These are not to be trusted negotiating partners. Now, we all want to see this war wound down. We want to see a peaceful solution, but there are a lot of questions and, frankly, a lot of outrage coming from the Republicans as well.
Elizabeth Griffin, thank you very much. Matt Mowers, Bakari Sellers, thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. Up next, look at fight night at the White House and the reaction from the UFC chief on the slur